What's up, everybody? My name's Indy, and I'm sitting here with Mr. J. Powell from Powell Group Consulting, and this is Indie Game Business. And today we have special guest Jim Mulford, and we are talking about retail programs. And let's talk about this here.
All right.
So, welcome to the show, Jim. It's good to have you on here, and I appreciate you opting in to do this an hour earlier than we usually do. I know you're a couple hours behind us, so you're like us. You're still getting your coffee in.
Exactly.
We always like to start with the whole walk us through your career and how you got into the game industry, but you've only recently come to the game industry. So I'm going to mix that up and say, walk us through your career and tell us why you've come to the game industry.
Well, that makes sense, Jay, and I appreciate that. So career is long and varied, and I'll make it very short. So I'm actually a graduate of the United States Air Force Academy. I went with a plan to fly and fight, but because of my height, I'm 6'5", I was disqualified from flying. So my focus was on technology and computer science, and so I went ahead, got my degree, was fortunate enough that I could move in to get my master's right away at UCLA. And it was an interesting time. Came out of that, spent 8 years in the Air Force doing varied things, primarily focused on delivering technology solutions for the Air Force. And then I moved in, resigned, moved into corporate America, had a relatively short career being in Fortune 500 companies, delivering complex systems integration solutions, and then got the entrepreneurial bug. And so three of us started a company with our life savings, $10,000 each. Started a systems integration business, which basically focused on what was emerging as the internet, and did a lot of work in how do you take a very heterogeneous environment and begin to connect all that with various protocols and solution sets. And gaming was certainly just an imagination at that point. And so in '86, we started our integration company, SSDS. Over a period of about 10 years, we grew that to several hundred employees, 14 offices, and eventually sold that to a Fortune 500 company. Spun out a outsourced recruitment company, again, focused on bringing technology solutions to a major business opportunity. We went through, we're growing that, had about 150 employees. We're in the $15 to $20 million revenue run rate. We're going through a major private offering, and the .com crash occurred. 75% of our clients were .com. So I've been through the upside of being an entrepreneur and the downside. We did survive. We eventually sold that company 10 cents on the dollar, became a part of IBM's outsourcing. So after that, I invested in various companies, always had an interest in applying technology to business solutions. And then a friend of mine said, you ought to come over and help me. And we're trying to bring a retail solution set to a loyalty solution set to the retail marketplace. So I began to support him and with some investment, and eventually got the bug, and we jumped in. And over the last 10 years, really been focused on loyalty programs and how do you make those more effective in the retail space. We can talk more about that. And then over the last couple of years, we've looked at the opportunities that are being presented in the mobile and video gaming marketplace. And we'll talk about how, or certainly can talk about how that impacts. But that's sort of my career. I'm married for 45 years, have 3 daughters, wonderful daughters, and their families. So I'm blessed. Jay, I see you on mute. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm just talking to myself here. Don't worry about it. It never fails. The minute the show goes live, I have like 6 things ping. It's like people start calling me on the phone and everything else.
There you go.
So we know that there are existing loyalty programs in the industry. It's like if you buy a game on a Switch, you get Nintendo coins, and Microsoft
Right.
has their rewards
Microsoft
program
Rewards.
that lets you earn points for doing things like doing Bing searches or hitting achievements in Xbox games. But no one has done anything similar to what at least us in America are used to with the loyalty programs at retail, where you got your little, you used to have your little key fob. You don't really have to have it anymore now. So let's start there. How do those traditional retail loyalty programs generally work?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jay. So, one of the things that we have to recognize is that, Accenture did a study recently that said over 90% of retail businesses have a loyalty program of some sort. And so, when you look over the 70-year history of loyalty programs in the retail industry, they are many and varied. I mean, you can start as simple as issuing back in the day, issuing coupons in the newspaper, right, to drive traffic. I mean, what's ultimately you have to start with what's the business reason for having a loyalty program, and it's really, from a business perspective, it's to increase my customer traffic and retain my loyal customers over a longer period of time, with the net impact of impacting my monetization. I mean, that's why businesses do it, right? And so there are various ways of doing that. Coupons have transitioned into being fully digital, becoming much more targeted, which is really a key part of any loyalty program in today's space. Cards-based solutions have existed for many years. Having your loyalty card, it's interesting. In the retail space, I should say across retail, travel and leisure, financial systems, the average American is a participant in between 12 to 15 loyalty programs. So there are a lot of programs. It's a very crowded space. The way the better programs work, and that's really where we should focus, is they tend to be focused on retention more so than acquisition, although both are important to a business. It's been shown that 75% of consumers would make another purchase if they're receiving some sort of loyalty reward. One of the things that Groupon discovered when they came out early on into that space was that they weren't targeted and they were focused on heavy discounting. And so everybody in the marketplace would see a Groupon coupon, go and join the line and get that 50% off. But it didn't connect. Now what's next, right? And so it was a one-time thing, and that's really a key thing that we think we have to understand in loyalty, is that it's a difference between just a discount and providing an offer that makes sense to the consumer and will want to attract them and keep them coming back to improve the lifetime value. Another thing that you'll see in the retail space that I think is not heavy in the gaming space yet is cross promotions. So you go to the grocery store, you get your points, and you can go and fill up your tank and get points, cents off at the pump. And more and more of that type of cross promotion is occurring, and it's really driving an industry trend towards multi-retailer or coalition type programs. Programs such as 5-Star, Groupon has started to transition into that space. Rakuten, Dosh, Fig, these are all brand names that are literally working a retail loyalty program across tens and hundreds of thousands of merchants across not only the U.S. but internationally. And so what's the purpose of that? Well, it's to create added value to the consumer, who then becomes loyal to that whole set of retailers. It creates a common reward mechanism. You don't have to carry 12 different IDs on your mobile app, or put in your phone number at different places. It really becomes a single solution. And the second key part of that is they are card linked offers. So you don't have a lot of friction at the point of sale. So I guess, the better, way to summarize is that the best retail loyalty programs of today are multi-retailer, a common set of rewards that really create value. In other words, I suspect a lot of us that have traveled have loyalty points in airline miles, hotel points, car rental points that are sitting there dormant because you don't have any use for them. So the fact that a company like Rakuten can offer cashback rewards that are valuable across multiple retailers really enhances that type of solution. The other thing is a great program can't add friction. And I think that's particularly true in the gaming industry, right? You don't want to be intensely in the middle of a game and have your loyalty rewards program interfering with that. So, they have to be something that creates no friction with the primary purpose of the business. In the retail space, that means, it's as simple as making my payment at the time of sale, and the loyalty rewards that have been targeted to me kick in. That's quick overview, but it's a 70-year history. It's as varied. A lot of retailers come into the space thinking, well, I just got to attract new customers. Yeah, that's key, but retention is even more important. And I think in the gaming industry, free-to-play games, premium games, need a way to enhance that lifetime value. So hopefully that gives you a quick overview of that, how they work today. Any question or follow-up questions on that?
Well, I used to have hotel and airline points, and then I didn't travel for a year and a half, and now they're all pretty much shot to hell. So that
yeah, me too.
Me and everybody else in the industry. All right, so I want to say real quick, if one, no matter where you are listening, if it's on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or Twitch, wherever we are, if you've got questions, pop them into chat. We'll see them here live, and we'll be able to pass them over to Jim and get them answered. And today it's our first run at doing this simultaneously with a live podcast stage on Discord as well. So for all of our friends in Discord, pop a question in the aptly named podcast questions chat, and Dan will get it and get it taken care of. So you've been working in our industry now for a year or so. Why do you think that this model hasn't carried over? Because at a certain level, it seems like such a no-brainer. Why hasn't somebody done this in the industry yet?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And again, as you said, I haven't been in the gaming industry for a long time, but in terms of, what we've looked at in research, I think there's a couple of key reasons. One is, as I mentioned, you don't want to introduce that friction. And a lot of times when you add a rewards program, it can, have some requirement of impacting the game experience. And you certainly don't want that. I think secondly, the some of the programs that you mentioned early on, Microsoft Rewards and, the platform rewards and the various programs that are out there, they don't really have a direct impact on the gaming experience because they don't really build up a value that is deemed to be worth the effort on the part of the gamer to really become a part of that program. I would also say that here's a key differentiator, and I'd be interested in other people's thoughts on this as we move forward. But in the retail space, the transactional component of making a determination of how to easily issue and redeem reward value is in place. It's called the Card Association Network. The Card Association Network links merchants, it links processors, it links solution sets that can connect into that in real time and issue and redeem rewards. Card linked offers don't need a separate infrastructure to support all that. So, we could look at, some of the base platforms like Steam, or, certainly Roblox has put in some Robux solution set that, sort of works across that environment. So I think one of the missing ingredients in the gaming industry is that ability to easily share in-game events, and to take that transactional value, and based on that is to monitor issued offers, that are targeted, and then to reward something of value, like a reward that I can go right back into the game and make additional purchases, or go in the Rakuten model, cashback rewards that give me the flexibility to really take the value that I've earned in that game and turn it into something that I can go out in the marketplace and buy my family a meal because they're not happy with me that I spent the last 8 hours playing my game.
Jim, do you know anything about the Razer loyalty program?
I know of it. I'm not an in-depth expert on it, so.
Okay, because there was a question from our Discord that said, what are the lessons learned from the prior Razer loyalty program? They seem to have put serious effort to push it across a few continents and have their own hardware sources and logistics network.
Yeah, and I wish I had more insight. I can certainly, we can get back on that to give some of the lessons learned. I would expect that a lot of times when programs are introduced into the marketplace, they take there's too much proprietary hardware software that make it difficult. Sometimes the friction component that I talked about. I'll give you an example. In the retail space, the 5 Stars program was a very coalition loyalty intended to provide very targeted offers to allow shoppers across a multitude of retailers. The problems they had is that it was a difficult integration at the point of sale, which created friction with the merchants, and then it also created friction with the consumers. They carried a single rewards card, but they also had to spend a lot of time at the point of sale making sure that their reward value was captured. So I wish I had more insight. I apologize for not, but those are some of the things that typically pop up in programs like that.
I can chime in here.
Sure.
One of the problems with Razer's program is the same thing that you see with Nintendo and Microsoft and everybody else. It's primarily, and not completely, but it's primarily focused on buy their stuff and we'll give you discounts on more of our stuff or a select number of games. And you're not really getting outside of what the Razer's ecosystem there. They've got to a good loyalty program, and the airline industry is a good example, because the airlines got together and formed these conglomerates where you can fly on United, and I don't know who's attached to who, but I'm just, as an example, you can fly on United, but you can use points on American. That's where a lot of these programs falter. They're fantastically good for loyalty, and this is why it works better on like a Nintendo or a Microsoft or something else, because you're buying, if you have an Xbox, you're buying a lot of Microsoft stuff. If you have a Nintendo, you're buying a lot of Nintendo stuff. If you have a Razer mouse, you may not necessarily be buying a lot of Razer headphones and keyboards and everything else. So in many ways, it's still too narrow, basically, is what it boils down to. They have more options in there than a lot of the loyalty programs do, because you can get access to games on Steam. But what you can't get is straight up cash to use on anything. And their network of partners still isn't, overly deep.
Yeah. I think that's, and I can bring again back some retail experience on that, Jay. That's a great point. One of the things that was very ubiquitous in the retail space was those siloed programs. I mean, there were tens of thousands of programs where I would have 3 visits to my hair salon, and I only needed 7 more, and I'd be able to get a free haircut. Well, those things over time become less attractive because they're very specific to that solution. And so, a retailer would say, well, why should I join something like Rakuten where I'm giving out cash or rewards and the consumer can go anywhere they want and spend that cash? Well, what was proven was that it actually becomes more valuable not only to the consumer, which is obvious, if I'm getting cashback rewards and I can spend it anywhere, that's very valuable to me, but also to the retailer, because now the consumer really saw something of great value and know that they were going to receive targeted offers for those retailers where they shop regularly, and it was going to be valuable to them, not 7 haircuts from now, but today.
It's another example in the industry. If you remember when the first Xbox launched and Microsoft included achievements, which were I can't remember exactly. They were either the first company to do it or extremely close to it. Microsoft heavily governed the achievements that you could have in a game. Initially, you were only allowed to have 1,000 achievement points in a game. And they were very picky about how you could earn those in the game, because they knew, and we saw at retail, there was a huge value. People would buy specific games. The King Kong game comes to mind, immediately, because they knew it was easy as hell to get 1,000, achievement points out of it. And back then, you couldn't even use those points for anything. They didn't have a rewards program. It was just basically bragging rights. But over the last 15 years, it's not that, buying. You don't see anybody going out and buying games just so they can rack up the achievement points in them. And the ones that do, it's a very, 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 very small focused group of people in the industry. But that's why they had to evolve. And now you got the rewards program that brings in Bing or Edge or whatever it's called now, and a lot of other stuff. So it's one of those things that, just like Jim's saying with the getting a free haircut after 10 other ones, it's not that attractive after a while. It's the same thing that we've seen in our industry. And so this is, very much one of those, we're at loyalty program 3.0 stage in the industry at this point. So from a high level, and you can go into as much detail in this as you want to, Jim, we understand that if you get a reward for something, you tend to want to come do it. But how do they specifically drive that top line and bottom line revenue? And what are the KPIs? What are those key performance indicators that need to be looked at?
Sure. Yeah. So, as I mentioned early on, the focus of any loyalty program has to be on driving that top line, bottom line growth, or what's the purpose? One of the studies that was put out by Bain & Cooper did a very extensive study of the retail industry and found that just a 5% boost in customer retention can translate to a 25% increase in profit. So everything that relative to driving that top line and bottom line growth has to be about retention. I mean, think about in the gaming industry, free to play games that come out, and you want to drive retention to get your lifetime value out of that game. Well, if the game is interesting but people start to drop off after 30 days, what are your options to drive that increased retention? You certainly can offer more playtime and more in-game assets to play the game. But at some point, you start to lose those customers. And so, when you look at, what are the key performance indicators from the retail industry, they're tracking very carefully in the more advanced retail program or loyalty programs today, repeat visits, purchasing trends, because it's not just about, I'm retaining that customer, but I'm retaining them to take certain actions that will lead to monetization. So, targeted offers become very important. One retail solution that was very effective in that marketplace, that was very targeted, would take, basically all the transactional data and determine, what specific offer would be available to any. So it was a one-on-one type of marketing, is I guess what I'm saying. So Jay, who had not yet visited, that local pizza shop, would get a targeted offer that would give him a 20% off on his, first visit. And then he'd immediately be targeted, with a follow-up offer for, his next 3 pizzas. And again, it was primarily focused on cashback. So, being able to monitor purchasing trends in terms of KPIs, the frequency, the market basket size, the issued rewards against that, metrics such as, the rewards redeemed divided by rewards issued, or what is the overall value of the reward? How valuable is it? If goes back to, if I'm issuing free haircut after 10 visits, and I'm only getting 2% redemption on that, that's pretty poor. I mean, that was why general couponing really fell out of flavor, because Valpak and all those major promotional components were good. They had some targeting by geography, but the attraction rates were down in the one. If you did 3%, you were hitting a home run. Where with targeted offers, we're seeing 10-15% return on actual participation based upon the targeting. So engagement, ad engagement, click-throughs become an important part of that, and then ultimately it's the lifetime value of that customer, being able to measure that, and then it's with the number of marketing options that any business has today. I don't care if you're a game publisher, game developer, if you're a retailer, your customer acquisition costs continue to go up because there's a lot of noise out there, right? I mean, how do I compete on Facebook? How do I compete on other social media in terms of differentiating myself in the marketplace? So, another key KPI relative to that is what is my cost of customer acquisition and how am I driving that? Smart retailers look at their loyalty program as another marketing channel, and that's how they use it. I mentioned earlier Groupon. They initially were not targeted. They've moved more in that direction, but they've always had challenges. And not having a targeted offer is like, what's the difference between discounting and issuing a loyalty reward? Well, discounting is available normally to anybody. So, I walk in the store, I see something with a 20% discount. If that's attractive to me, I buy it. Doesn't matter if it's my first time visit or my 100th time visit. Where with a loyalty reward, you can target that to the buying patterns and really make it much more valuable to the consumer. And of course, that in turn increases retention and becomes much more valuable to the business.
I remember this. So many people got fed up with the Bed Bath & Beyond offers that everybody got in the mail that they actually created a change.org petition on for the White House to get rid of them. Or to permanently discount everything by 35% of the store, whatever it was.
Right.
So this is something we talk about marketing, but that also carries over into, outside of traditional marketing, into discoverability. One of the key things that developers and publishers alike are out there always trying to do is find new and more cost-effective ways to, get their games discovered. How does the breakdown, where does that line get drawn between I'm in a group and an organization that's helping my game get discovered versus people are playing my game but spending the rewards in another game? That's the two sides of the coin that we see a lot. How can one go in and effectively use that? Because anything that gives you a better shot at discoverability in the market today is good. It's just a matter of how you manage that.
Yeah. So I think discoverability is a very interesting and very important part of that, because I, as a consumer, if I'm, as a retail, in the retail space, I'm not going to shop just one location, right? I'm going to go to maybe multiple grocery stores. I'm going to go to, multiple, I may have certain, parts of my experience that I tend to focus on one merchant, but I tend to work across, in any, for any consumer, they're going to be across, 10, 15, 20 different retailers. So discoverability in terms of what is valuable and what isn't valuable for any given retailer can be done in a couple of ways. One is I do that on a siloed approach, or through my own advertising channels, through my own marketing channels, or I become a part of a coalition that broadens that marketing. And probably a trivial example of that is why did in the old days, why did Valpak, or why did mass couponing, or why did newspapers exist? And that was because they were a single source of a channel that could be used across multiple retailers. Well, the same thing's true in the loyalty reward space. That's why siloed loyalty programs are becoming out of favor in the retail space, and it's going to much more of a coalition solution set where the value to the retailer is really how effective can I target my offers. The channel becomes easy because I, as a consumer, now am part of that. Rakuten. If I'm tied into Rakuten, I've got my cards linked. I know that in a single web experience, I can quickly identify where my retailers are and connect into them. So, and then the question, the other side of that coin, as you said, Jay, is all right. So I'm getting this reward that can be used anywhere, whether that's airline miles across multiple airlines or actual cashback. Why is that beneficial to me as a game publisher or as a retailer? And, again, it comes back to the lower cost of discoverability. That's one thing. Secondly, is that because I'm part of that larger ecosystem, the consumers or the gamers or the retailers are now going to heavily focus on that channel, and they're going to keep coming back to those that are participating in that channel. So, it's been proven in the retail industry, and I think it'll be proven in the gaming industry, that long-term targeted offers and coalitions or multi business rewards programs are the way to go.
Dan, so I saw we had a question from Dan.
Okay, you got it? Or you want me to do it? I'll do it. You do it. Dan. Oh, so Dan Silver says, so we've established Razers Silver's issue that is contained to Razer's ecosystem. How would you go about creating a multi-developer reward program by community, like IGB, by location, etc.?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I think a multiple developer reward program really comes to play in terms of is there a solution set that you can link into as opposed to create that from scratch, right? So and I'm not I don't know as we said I'm not in depth understanding Razer's ecosystem, so I don't want to overstep there, but there's other programs that have moved into the retail space like Kumaluma, which has some coalition loyalty rewards aspects of it. I'm not promoting them in any research of the imagination, but I'm giving you an example of how you can tie into these. I think the second thing is really finding a solution set out there that's going to provide a valuable reward. And from a game publisher, game developer point of view, is it something that has a marketing channel that's going to lower my customer acquisition costs? I think starting from scratch across multiple developers would be difficult, and I'm not sure necessarily. Of course, that's my systems integration background, because I always am an advocate to say that if there's if there's existing solution sets out there that you can integrate in with that don't create friction, then that's where you need to seriously look. Am I hitting the mark on that, Daniel, do you think, in terms of answering that question?
Well, I can say it's an excellent question, Dan. And speaking of that question and forming a community like with IGB, which I hadn't even thought of, that's a good idea. It's like, okay, well, there's the IGB discount community.
Oh, yeah.
So Jim is trying to get some sort of a coalition going, and there's a special incentive that they've got to, as long as you meet the requirements. So if you are out there and you have a game on the App Store, it needs to be mobile at this point in time. So a free-to-play game on an App Store that's live in Unity, because the tech is got the Unity SDK in it. It's not yet running on Unreal or anything else, but in Unity, and you've got at least 1,000 daily active users, Jim's going to give you $5,000 to sign up and get going before you do anything. So if that is interesting to you and you fit those requirements, ping me a DM on Discord or email me and I will get you all the details. But that's exactly what, we're working on doing is getting that community built together and growing it. And as a way to kickstart that, acQyr Exchange is actually going to pay you to implement their tech. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Really quiet there, and I was like, "Oh, now what?"
No.
I should have just piped in and went $5,000.
Well, I mean, we're not going to go into our solution set because we were going to focus on the overall industry. But I do think it's important for businesses that are in the, like ourselves that have spent time in the loyalty rewards business. Our customers are in the gaming industry are the developers, and we're certainly focusing on the indie developers to start, and providing a coalition and not making this something. Well, you come in and pay us a licensing fee and you can get on this program. No, we got to make that. We're a partner. Is the way I think is an important part of creating this type of coalition. And we're there to bring value to our business partners in terms of meeting those KPIs that we talked about and getting enhanced monetization. And if we can prove that, then the value added solution to us as a business, because we're going to make money over the long term, is it's all going to be on a pay per performance model where we actually only we get our results out of other partnerships and driving more business to our partners.
So, and again, it gets back to that discoverability thing and that extra bonus. And we've got to keep a long tail on this stuff. And, and full disclosure, we've been working with Jim for several months now. And I endorse what he's doing because I truly haven't seen anything to this level done in the industry yet. But we are talking about the wide spectrum of things. But hell, I mean, if we can give developers $5,000 for implementing it, we're going to do that. So what are the best practices that you see in how to implement these things? We know that people, especially publishers and developers, get really, really nervous when you start talking to them about taking them out of the game into something else. But when you're implementing, these loyalty programs in games, what are the best practices that you see in terms of, when to do it, where to do it, what to offer, that sort of stuff?
Right. So, first of all, as I mentioned earlier, you don't want to create that friction. So you want to have the ability to sign up for your whatever the rewards program is to be, pretty non-intrusive as it relates to the gamer. It's maybe you're automatically signed up just by being playing in the game. You have to the reason I really advocate of having the targeted offers, the defining of those offers, the using different channels to advocate those offers outside the game, is that you want to reduce that friction, and you want to use best practices, and you want to use the best channels to get access to them. Whether that's social media, whether it's a platform play, work across that. you want to be targeted. I mean, those are, targeted offers. I mean, if I just want to give everybody a 20% discount on buying my next game pack, I can do that, but it's not going to necessarily drive the long-term value that I'm looking to get out of that customer base. Provide a really valuable reward. I mean, again, that goes back to what we said. We don't want to just, I think it's interesting in a free-to-play game or even a premium game to provide in-game value through additional assets that you get because you achieve a certain level or because you engage with ads in a free-to-play game. But at some point, those become less valuable because now I'm interested in moving on, or I've lost, for whatever reason, my incentive to play that game. So I think having something that's really valuable, common reward, like I say, in the retail space, cashback rewards have become pretty much the industry standard. You got to have access to those KPIs. So, strong tracking abilities to be able to see, am I achieving my necessary results? And again, I think a solution set that you don't have to integrate all that from scratch makes sense, right? Because you want to have, easy to access dashboards that you can monitor as the developer or publisher of that game and see if the results are as you expected. If not, then you adjust your targeting, you adjust the reward values to make sure that is improving. You test, you iterate, and you evolve. And then, I think, what are the promo channels are key to any of this, because ultimately it comes down to marketing your game and getting more consumers and retaining those that you have over a long period to get the lifetime value out.
All right, so we've got another interesting question here from Discord from Veronique. Do you have any advice or insights for paradox monetization model, meaning the game plus infinite DLCs?
Okay, so
now we're throwing Jim into the deep end. All right,
that's right. You want it in here. This is it, right?
So now you're testing my gaming skills, which is going to be a real challenge. So
I can help you with this one, Jim.
Yeah.
All right, so the struggle implementing. I like the fact that we're going to call it the paradox model. We can also call it the No Man's Sky model, and multitudes of other games that do a premium release and then, they don't charge for DLCs. Where Paradox case they do,
for download content. Sure.
Isn't that the way that games used to work though? You would just like buy a game and then you get all this free content because they fix it.
Well, I mean, but no. So one, when we had to put stuff back in a box and put it on the shelf, there was no fixing it. It was like whatever shipped, and that was occasionally you would get to download some massive update, but not all the time. The struggle with always being able to pump out, DLC after DLC after DLC, especially when you're doing it, for free. Like No Man's Sky has done. It's like, I got back into State of Decay 2 recently because I was reading a book about zombies, and they're up to like their 25th update, and there's been minimal DLCs. The problem is, how do you pay for the development of that DLC if you're not getting revenue in and you haven't like put it away and saved it up from your retail launch? And having a program like this is going to allow you to have those customers to come back, and they're earning little stuff here and there. By keeping them engaged, you're able to sell them more stuff later on. And that's what you want to be able to do, whether it's a free-to-play game or a premium game. Everybody knows here I'm a big fan of the Treese Brothers and Star Trader Frontiers. They've done over 100 different updates on that game, and they've never charged anybody a dime for it. So it's a matter of, having a loyalty program is going to keep your players around. But if your players are around, even if they aren't spending extra money on the game themselves, they are creating a baseline amount of buzz to bring other players in. And so that's what you're looking for. Now, obviously, if you've got DLC in there, you've got something paid to go along with it, that's going to help too. But you know, a program like this is going to help you keep those players that you've already got. And if you're keeping them, then they are evangelizing your game to new players as well.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, Jay. The evangelizing to other players is really a key part of that. And there are reward mechanisms, you know, for doing that. You know, referrals and all those are pretty common in the retail space. But I think even more so is that, you know, it comes back to what you said, Jay, is that, you know, whether the DLC is free, whether it's upgrades, what is the monetization strategy of the business? I mean, is it to sell the next premium game? Is it to add additional value that has some cost? Is it to drive additional players? You know, all those things can be thought out, and then you can refine. You know, a good rewards program then will allow you to quickly respond to that business objective and define your offers around those business objectives. You know, you don't just want to throw something up against the wall and hope it works.
Yeah, we never do that in this industry. That's the throwing against the wall and seeing if it sticks is a fundamental part of game development, Jim. That's the catch that comes in there.
Well, I know agile development works well, so yeah.
All right, so we got about 10 more minutes here. If you've got questions, pop them in either the podcast questions chat on Discord or in whatever video platform that you're watching us on right now. So down the line, once you get this coalition as we're saying, started for developers and publishers and things like that, how do you see, you know, this working long term for both the mobile game industry and, you know, premium games? Because this does apply to both. What do you see as, you know, the future of loyalty programs a year from now, 2 years from now?
Yeah, so I think it's going to go very much the way of the retail, and the reason I say that is because, you know, it's a learning experience, and the good news from the gaming industry is we've got a lot to learn from the retail industry. So the ability to not have to go through you know, a siloed loyalty program and then move into some form of coalition and then some form of targeting, that's already been you know, the retail space has already gone through that evolution. And I think the gaming industry and I will be, you know, and I can, you know, point to some examples of this, but is jumping in to be, you know, having solution sets where you can be much more targeted with your offers and the achievement of those offers to achieve the individual businesses' monetization targets and their top line, bottom line growth. So, you know, tying them around those, having coalition programs that allow you to reduce your customer acquisition costs because you're sharing in how your gamers get access to even knowing that you're out there. You know, with the number of games that are coming out every week, you know, it becomes more and more difficult. So it provides that sort of, you know, platform capability. I do think that longer term, you're going to see much more sophisticated coalition rewards components plugged into the major platforms, you know, whether it's Roblox, Steam, Skills, you know, Apple, Google, they all have rewards mechanisms. But I think you're going to see an ever-growing sophistication of that in the platforms. I think in the you know, in the IGB space, you know, providing that sort of commonality of I'll call it a virtual platform, but, you know, for coalition loyalty may make a lot of sense. And then the other thing that we haven't talked about, but I'll throw this out there because you know, you're as a game publisher, game developer, you're always looking for what are those other value-added revenue streams. Well, one of the things that we do is we're going to be having some you know, you'll have premium members that can upgrade their accounts and get access to the cashback rewards in the retail space to come back and fuel their gaming purchases. So tying into some of the fintech services that are financial technology services to allow for unbanked or underbanked gamers to have access to you know, an IGB prepaid card to be able to go out and use those earned rewards. So I think that integration and where I was going with that is that we as a as a platform, a loyalty rewards platform, will share some of those revenues back to our game partners. That to us is important because it creates another revenue stream. Not only is this it costs to issue rewards, right? You're putting out a reward value to the gamer, but the return is not only in terms of enhanced monetization, enhanced increase in retention and acquisition of new customers, but there are also other shared revenue streams that can come back and add additional revenue to your top line and then, of course, drive bottom line.
And we already, see this to an extent. I mean, not on the loyalty program side, but think about the Indiecade, that's one of them. But who is the group? And I'm completely blanking on this. Who used to do the booths at all the shows for indie developers, indie games?
Oh, I don't recall what that company was, but I know they did a bunch of booths.
Thanks, Danny. Think about it in terms of like an indie mega booth type thing. It's
indie
like,
mega booth,
instead of bringing everybody together to create a centralized hub that consumers as well as publishers would come and they could go to one spot and see all these 20 or 30 different indie games that were coming to the market. You do that on a level of a loyalty program where the teams are supporting one another like that. I mean, there's always going to be friction when you start getting into these bigger companies where Ubi's like, well, I don't know if we want to be, encouraging people to play our game just so they're going to spend money on Activision games. I mean, we've seen Sony take that stance forever, with their absolute iron-fisted, block of crossplay in the games. Now that's starting to break up a little bit. But I mean, that's a level of friction that we're always going to hit. But indie developers have always been great about supporting one another and looking past that. And so this is a good way, to build on that to the next level. All right. Okay. So I don't see another question coming in shortly or coming in quickly. Any final thoughts, Jim?
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. I would say that my final thoughts would be let's take advantage of what's happened in the retail space and learn from that. And we have a great starting point for the gaming industry to move into the next round of increasing monetization and retention. I'm happy to answer any other questions as we move forward. We're in this, as I said, my background systems integration, my background is partnerships. And so we view this as a partnership coming into this space, bringing the 10 years plus experience we've had operating this type of solution set in the retail marketplace, knowing, what's going on there, and hopefully adding some value to the indie game business and, driving that to success for everybody.
Basically, what he's saying is, let's not reinvent the wheel, folks. This works, right? Let's do what works.
Exactly.
It absolutely is one of the downsides of this industry. It's like, people that are coming from other industries into games look at it and it's completely new. We don't do things the way that and I always tell people, when I first met Jim and Bill, I was like, okay, take everything and toss it out the window because this is not a real space like anything else. But the people that are in the industry don't often look outside the industry on new ways to market games and new ways to do things and business models. Our industry has always been very siloed, either going out or coming in. And so, this is a great example
of like its own little lost island.
Yes, exactly. Except it's a huge island that's got tons of money in it, and nobody really looks outside the island for ideas. But this is one of those things that we're taking something that has been proven for 70 some years and going, well, why wouldn't it work for games? And there's no reason it shouldn't. So anyway, that's my spiel. But if you've got, I just posted Jim's link in the chat. So and for those of you listening, I'll drop it in the podcast questions as well. But you can always reach out to me. Like I said, full disclosure, been working with Jim for months. I know what he's doing and I know why it's cool. reach out to me or reach out to Jim and Bill. They're great folks, and they've got something, very interested and a bit groundbreaking in the industry, and we're looking forward to seeing more great things. So yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jim. And thank you so much for tuning in to the Indie Game Business. We are on Twitch, and this is going to be a podcast on anchor.fm and all of your other normal podcast venues. Just look up Indie Game Business. And if you're not in here, which a lot of people already are in our Discord, discord.gg/Indie Game Business. Come in there. There's a ton of great resources, and the Discord server is growing daily. It's amazing. You would be surprised how many, if you start digging in there, how many resources are in there and how many people are in there that you probably want to know.
I just saw that one of the folks, the head of publishing for Humble Games, apparently joined us the other day. So good to see you if you're out there listening. But yeah, I even pruned inactive members from the Discord last week, and we still got over 3,200 industry experts in there, and newbies too. That's a thing. It's like it's a safe space. It's wonderful. Mm-hmm. You can ask any kind of question you want, and somebody's going to answer it. All right, so we will be back next Friday with another guest who I'm not sure who it is right now because I don't have the calendar up. Dan, do you know?
I don't have the calendar.
We'll figure it out.
I know it's super exciting. It's super exciting. Right.
Oh, all righty. Jim, stick around for a second. To everybody else, thank you so much. We'll see you next week.